Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna show you how easily you can integrate Nextauth in a Next.js application and also connect your MongoDB database to save the user's accounts sessions without creating any of the Mongoose model or something. So actually that will be the feature of all, just a simple application. Then this will be our MongoDB cloud database. I'm gonna show you how you can integrate that, and we will use that Next.js to run with entire framework, and then we will use that Nextauth and Nextauth adapters to create all the possibilities what we're gonna check out today. So as you see now, my database collection is empty because I didn't keep anything right now. So if I go here, that is actually the Auth authentication. If I click to log in with Nextauth, as you see, I have several providers by which I can log in. If I click to sign in with GitHub, it will go and sign in with a GitHub credential, then redirect me to homepage with the proper credentials. So now I have the users. What about the cloud here? If I refresh, let's see if I am having something or not. As you see in my collection, I'm getting one database collection name test because I'm using the test database sector here. And now I have also the session and users in the test or the accounts. You see, I logged in with the GitHub, which is the particular provider, and the type, which is Auth. And if I go back to the session, it will also provide me the session data, ID, session token, user ID, and the expires, when it gonna be expire. And then also for the users, which actually I'm viewing here, that's particularly is sending here. So name, email, image, and of course the email is not verified, so it's null. So now you can also connect that user database table with your actual users if you want to go with a manually login with the MongoDB. What if I am doing another account? If we click on sign out, let's log in with like the Google account or Gmail. If I use my account, so after the login, it's okay. I think that account may not. Okay, I try again. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so this account having that. Okay, now I can go and access with that because it's the same account by which I create the credentials. So now if I go back my database again and hit refresh, so now I have actually one user and with one providers. Now it should be two users with two providers. If I go back to my accounts, still it didn't come yet, so let's just hit refresh again. Maybe it's gonna be a little bit delay here. You see, one of two. So now I am having my Google account and Google Auth also in the session. It's going to be the two separate session, and particularly of course I'm gonna receive two users. Okay, just, and in the MongoDB you can see I have only one user, which is actually particular session is running because one I already signed out. So in that segment, whenever you are working with MongoDB, you need to have good patience because MongoDB is providing us so much more thing and it's just a bit of slow in reacting. As you see, I have two users. So that's the things we're gonna create right now. So stay with me and I'm gonna show you how you can comparatively set this entire value directly after logged into your database and also create a very good impact. So start with, first of all, what we need to do is that I will close my previous browser. I need to create one Next.js application. So I will open my terminal, and here in the terminal you need to just, if you click in the get started and in installation, here actually the entire guideline how you can do it. You see, if you're using the npm you can go with that and other properties, but I will use that pnpm, which actually pretty much cool to me. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just make pnpm create, and it will be next app, and I'm gonna give a name of that Nextauth YT. Okay, so after clicking while you are trying to create, it will ask several kind of pop-ups which actually demonstrate whatever you want to do. And of course the entire application will be written in TypeScript, so I will say yes, ESLint yes, Tailwind CSS yes. We don't want to go any further design enigma, so we will use the Tailwind CSS. And there is two more particular thing is that using the source directory and making application without the source directory. But I love source directory because it's actually keeping neat in my project. And of course the app router, which is the latest one. And now it gonna start building. And of course, if you think this video is helping you to learn something more, if you like the video, of course, like, share, and if you need anything, just try to comments on the comments in below. And particularly, there is lots of viewers who just viewing but not subscribing. Please do subscribe. Okay, so my application is created. If I put Alice, you're gonna see the Nextauth YT. I'm just gonna roll back inside of it, cd Nextauth YT, and then I'm gonna open it within my code editor. So it's open, and if you think it's a bit of critical, then you can go only in the directory. You can drag your folder to the particular codes, whichever code you're using, VS Code or other any code properties. I use VS Code, so it's actually pretty cool to use. So also you can open with code, and it will open the same project. So now this is our first project, the dummy project from Next.js. So if we just open that project, so let's open the terminal, and from here I'll use git bash. You can use PowerShell and other CMD also, no worry about that. So now here, as you see, we have the node modules, whatever the node we are using in the project. We are having a little bit less here because I use the PNPM, so it's actually installed globally whatever the thing is necessary. Only few are actually coming up here. So in the public we have 2 values, so for this application I'm not gonna touching over there. So in the source I have my Fabi icon, global CSS, layout.tsx and page.tsx. Actually now if I put PNPM there, so my application it gonna start spinning. So whatever you're gonna see at the first instance, all are popping up from here. Okay, so if I go in the browser and open my localhost 3000, so this entire thing's actually the dummy one, which I am running it from here. So what I'm gonna do in that particular main, I'm gonna just remove all the main from here. I'm gonna take another main tag, and it will be Nextauth YT. Oops, it will be YT. Hit save, and if we go back to our browser, as you see, Nextauth YT is actually showing here. So one more things which we are not using is that because we actually didn't put any of the CSS, so this entire CSS except this tree, because that tree is responsible to keep aligned with Next.js for implementing the Tailwind CSS. If you go in the tailwindcss.com, if you put in the get started, and you're gonna see with the framework guides, if you go back with the Next.js, as you see that 2 things is required to particular boundaries, so you need to implement that one. There is no other option to without following that. So now I'm gonna a little bit make smaller than that. Okay, so now first thing first, let's start building our application. So in our previous one, which actually we have in the source folder, I'm gonna take another directory which I'm gonna put a name of UI, and also in the tailwind config.ts, as I'm using the UI, I'm gonna just replace with the component within the UI, and also background image I'm not using. So now first I'm gonna create a header, so it will be my header.tsx RAFCE, which actually ES7 the extension you need to install with that, which actually giving a pretty good cool snippet to create the functional React component. So let's make that one as a header. And in my code I'm using several properties. If you go back to the extension which actually I installed, I use that auto close tag, auto rename tag, which is pretty much very good to use. And also .env file I'm using that ES7 plus React, which actually pretty good extension to create the snippets. And by the way, also you can use that prettier the prettier code formatter to format your code perfectly. There is a lot of other things which actually feel free to use if you want. And if you want some more things how actually make cool your VS Code style, so let me know in the comments below, then I will try to create something more with that. Okay, so now in my header, so that's the header. Actually we need header, right? Okay, so in that header what we're gonna do, okay, we're gonna just put a simple composition. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass in navigation array, so that will be array, dummy array, just to let's look our application bit of cooler. Okay, it should be in the header. So in the header I'm gonna put it here, and on that particular div let's put a class name which is going to be busy gray of 950 and text going to be gray of 200. no, 200. Okay, so now it should be BJ background. Okay, as you see, it's already starts popping up. So now we need to make a bit perfect on that. Well, we're gonna take another div, and here we're gonna take a p tag, which is going to be Nextauth YT. Okay, so now for that particular div, put a class name. I'm gonna make it a max width of screen axle max auto. Okay, should be auto, mx auto, and then padding y would be 10 and px going to be 4. And also I'm gonna make flex item center justify between to align with my other properties. As you see, looks great. And for that p tag, just put some quick class name of that. The text going to be LG, and I'm gonna make it uppercase. Font should be a semi-bold, and underline offset would be 2. And I'm gonna make a decoration which going to be 1 pixel. Okay, I keep it 2 with that. Okay, decoration. Okay, so now I think okay, we put that underline, and also one more things which we need to provide is that underline, which going to be white, or no. Okay, now here we're gonna keep one more things properties, that which going to be whenever we hover, text going to be white, and the duration properties we're gonna make 200, and cursor would be pointer. So as you see, if we hover, okay, just a bit of a simple configuration with that. So okay, yeah, we need to make underline, that's why, yeah, it should be underline. Okay, now after that p tag, we're gonna just generate another div, and in that div we're gonna make that a navigation.map, and from that particular map we know it has a title, and also it's going to has link. So now I'm gonna just return from here the link parameter, which is coming from the next link. You see, it's imported from the next link. And now the key, I'm gonna provide the title and also the href, which going to be link, and then here I'm gonna pass the title. So if you go back here, it will just come, as you see, that's the properties is actually popping up. So let's put some class name here. It will be class name flex item center, gap in x would be 5. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now that link parameter, let's put some text of small text. I'm gonna make it uppercase. Font, it will be medium. Text would be gray of 300, and then hover, text going to be white, and the duration parameter I'm gonna pass 200, as you see. Okay, cool. So our header is done. So now as we finish the header, we need to create a login screen. So to eradicate with that, we're gonna go in our UI. Here we're gonna take another file which is going to be login.tsx rafce to create that React functional component in the page after that header. Oops, we're gonna take that login. Okay, login. As you see, the login is already here. So now what actually we want to see in that particular login parameter. So here, instead of, okay, inside the div, we want to see one button, which it's going to be say login with Nextauth YT. Okay, as you see, that button is available. So in that div, I'm gonna just put some calculation on it. Width going to be screen, height also going to be screen, and bj is going to be gray of 900, and flex justify, I'm gonna keep it as center. As you see, that is coming here, but we're gonna make some class name here, which it will give us a good place there in the top. So now and make that background of black, text of gray of 200, and then padding x-axis going to be 10. I'm gonna give a particular height of 14 and rounded LG. Let's implement that one, and as you see, looks nice but not so nice. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna just make that text going to be SM uppercase, and also margin top I'm gonna give it 20, border and border gray of 600, and then hover border should be white, hover BJ should be blue of 700, and hover text going to be white, not wrap, white, and the duration we're gonna put an exact of 200 milliseconds, as you see. Okay, that's cool. So now once we click on that, we need to activate one particular event, and to implement that we need to go with that Nextauth. So let's click on get started. Okay, so now first thing first, we need to install. If you're using npm, use the npm yarn or the yarn pnpm. So I'm using pnpm. So let's go here. I'm opening another git bash share which already open, so I'm gonna just paste it here. And also to check the particular things, you can also see in that package.json if it's installed or not, it gonna start popping up. You see the Nextauth, the latest version is already installed. So how actually we can implement the Nextauth in our application? We did that things. So now we need to create that. As you see, that documentation is happened to be for the Next.js page router, but we are using the app router, so it will not be the same as well. So now what we need to do, we need to create a route, and how the route is actually happening in Nextauth. Let's go back here in the pages, sorry, in the source, in the app. Inside the app, you need to open another directory which is going to be API, then / you need to open another directory which is going to be what actually is written here. You can just follow that portion, you can just follow that one. You see the Nextauth API pages API auth and this one, so you can just copy that. Okay, you can just copy that and it will be fine. You see the API, I'm gonna just rename that, I'm gonna paste that one, that's it. Okay, sorry, as I am in the API, so it's difficult to rename. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put that auth, and also I'm gonna spread then Nextauth. What's the name of that? It will be Nextauth. Okay, let's try one more time. Or what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna delete that. Yeah, I'm gonna open another, you see, and it will be API. So API Nextauth, then spare tag and Nextauth. So all are now the folder. So as you see, it's mentioned here to keep it .js. So this one, it will be as a file name, but what we create as a folder, as a directory. So what we need to do is that inside that directory, that .nextauth, we need to get another file which it will be route.ts, because in the Nextauth app router, all parameter, all the routes name, all the API route name should be route.ts or route.js or JSX, and also the file, the screen name or the page name, which is going to be page.tsx, page.js or page.jsx. So now in that particular route, we need to implement our Nextauth parameter. How we can do it, that one, we're gonna make it that we're gonna just create a simple function which we're gonna give a name of handler, and then we're gonna just put that Nextauth, and now here we need to put that auth options. So that's the parameter we are going to use. Okay, so how actually we can create that auth options? So let's just put that const, oops, it will be const auth options. So inside that auth options, it will be a particular type which is going to be okay, we're gonna define the types later once we're gonna implement that one. So it will be just simple an object. Okay, so inside that objects, we're gonna keep the providers. So I'm gonna just pop that providers, how actually, then I'm gonna explain what we are going to do with that particular providers. So that will be my providers here, which is going to be coming from the Nextauth, and also I need to import that providers Okay, so that's the providers. So now how actually is working, you see in the next options I'm passing the providers, which is an array, because we can use multiple providers. We can use the GitHub providers, we can use the Google providers, and as you see in the process.env file which we're gonna create, as you see in the top layer it will be one file .env. so in that process.env file what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna make one parameter for the GitHub ID or other parameters also, which going to be like several parameters GitHub ID, and from here also we can go that with GitHub secret, as you see. So that's the things we're gonna use. And particularly we're gonna use those mass properties, which going to be the Nextauth URL. The URL we are running our application in now is the localhost 3000, and also the Nextauth secret, which actually we can generate. If you come back here, just search not the Control P, it should be Control K. You can search here Nextauth secret. As you see it gonna return one random key generator. You can just copy that, or you can just write it in your application terminal here. It gonna provide you a random number. Okay, align with that. Without using the equal sign you can generate your Nextauth secret. For my this build I'm gonna just use this secret. Okay, and for the Google client ID and Google client secret, which actually you need to get from the Google applications, if you come back here and if you go with that Google Cloud Console, where actually oops, it should be just Google Cloud Console. Okay, so from here you can actually roll back to in the Google platform, and from the cloud platform you can open. So there is several videos. I'm gonna just put some link in the description where actually you can find how to create that kind of applications in the Google Cloud Console and also in the GitHub, so that you can learn a bit more explanation over there. But for to see it is, as you see in the console, if you are already created an applications, then it will be fine. As you see I have several applications here, so I can just toggle through. If you want to create a new project you just need to open a new, and from that one which I particularly having right now, you can just roll back here in the API on the credentials. You need to get the credentials over there. So like if I go my web client, in the web client I'm gonna find that, as you see, Google client ID, Google client secret. Don't share it, okay, because I'm gonna change it right now. Okay, you need to just copy that portion, that's for the Google application. And for the GitHub you just need to roll back your GitHub account. First you need to have a GitHub account for sure, and then in the settings, and from the settings you can just roll back at the bottom on the developer settings, and from that developer settings in the OAuth apps you can either open a new OAuth app or you can roll back to your previous OAuth app. As you see, you just need that particular ID, and then you can generate a client secret. And for the MongoDB database, as you see, that's my MongoDB database, the previous one. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just remove that test parameter because I will use the same applications. So you can just create an application in MongoDB, then roll back to your database, and you see also you can manage your database access. You can open any of the admin or anyone who can actually use your database. As you see, you can just open a user and password. That user and password, it will be necessary once we are going to access the database. And from the database, in the connection, you can connect in several possibilities with the drivers, and I'm gonna connect with the Compass, and I don't have MongoDB Compass installed, so I will use that. As you see, that's the things you need to copy. And over here in MongoDB URI, just you need to whatever the password that user has, you need to just replace that password. Okay, if you do that, it will be fine. So all the credential and all the possibilities here, and in that .env file, because that will only run in that development process, so you need to also mention the development. So this Google client ID, client secret, GitHub ID, GitHub secret, and node.env and MongoDB URI to connect everything you need to put in the next in the .env file. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get my previous values and I'm gonna paste it here. Of course I will not show you it. Okay, so I'm having all the credentials right now. So as you see here, I'm just passing that client ID as that process.env GitHub ID, and the GitHub's also for the Google ID, and for the LinkedIn, Instagram, Discord, and Auth provider, you can just go and fetch through it. So now what I'm gonna do in my particular tab here, I'm having the handler. So now I need to export that handler. So it will be handler as get and also handler as post. For both instances I can use it. So now I am having this portion. So let's roll back here. Let's see what actually we need. Some more, we need to use that session provider some way to render within the applications. So particularly it should be coming in the layout, but as you see in Nextauth is actually creating that client-side authentication. So we cannot, by default the Next.js, all the components and pages are rendering in the server side. So what we need to do, we need to make our session provider as a client-side library, then we need to inject that one. And to eradicate that, I'm gonna get another file which is going to be layout.tsx. You can put any of the name, so rafce. So now that is my layout, and from here I'm gonna just copy that, I'm gonna paste it here, and in that particular div, instead of that div, I'm gonna pass that session provider. So here I'm gonna take everything as the children, and that children component should be children. It will be a react.react node, so that's the type for it. And here in the layout I will pass the children. So now this one actually, okay, let's just try it without making it as a client component. Let's go in the layout. What are we gonna do? And that layout also, I'm gonna just replace one text here, which going to be to go with that. Yes, okay. And here in that child, in the children, I'm gonna just wrap it with our layout. Okay, so let's go in the here and let's save it. Let's see what actually the error we are facing. You see React context is unavailable in server components because it's using the context and which is not available in the Next.js server component. So what we need to do, instead of making this entire layout, because it's rendering in the server side always, you cannot make your root layout as the client component. So what you need to do, as we are just injecting here, we're gonna make that one as use client. Okay, hit save, and after doing that, of course it will be fine. Let's go to our login here. So now we need to create the login, and how we can do that, as you see, we need to run that portion on click, sign in and sign out. So these two, it will be responsible to create that. So let's go here. What's wrong? I'm gonna just reload my window. Just something, sometimes it's just giving that false error, so don't worry, maybe you will not get that one for sure. So now in that particular button, I'm gonna make that an on-click event. So it will be an on-click event. Okay, why is not giving me on-click event? And it will be sign in. You need to import the sign in from the Nextauth React, and also you need to make it as use client, otherwise you'll get an error. So let's go back here. If we click, as you see, we're directly here in that GitHub and sign in other properties. Click here. Let's try with GitHub, and of course it's gonna ask permission as you first, but as I'm using the same credential, it will not ask the permission. Now we are having the user, but we don't know where is our user, right? And to implement that one, we can just run a simple context here. What we're gonna do in our UI, we're gonna take another file which going to be profile.tsx, rafce, and let's roll back with the profile. So we're gonna just make a condition here. The condition, it will be, we need to get our session. So if we just make that data, we will just destructure as a session, and it will be from use session. Now we're gonna just write a simple condition. If there is no session, then we're gonna return our this value. Okay, this entire d we're gonna return. So I'm gonna just cut it, I'm gonna paste it here, and if we have the user, we're gonna return the profile. So now as you see, we are having the user, so we can view the profile right now. So for the profile, let's go back to our profile screen, and as we need to implement the same procedure. I will just take that credential and here I'm gonna inject it, hit save, and of course I'm gonna make also that one as use client. And here what I'm gonna do is that let's put some class name in that particular div. The class name max width, which is going to be screen Excel, MX also, and padding Y should be 10. Okay, now instead of that I'm gonna take another div and a P should be user information. Now for this particular div, now actually this all about just keeping some class name and injecting and styling, so I'm gonna just popping it up. And also for the class name I'm gonna just make it margin top bottom of 3, as you see. Okay, user information. So after that div I'm gonna make another, okay, I will just also grab another text here. Okay, so the p tag, just a lorem text. Actually I was willing to copy paste, but I'm gonna show you some tricks over here, that's why I'm keeping that alongside with me. So now what I'm gonna do below that div, okay, that div, I'm gonna take an image tag from the next image, and here image, and here in the source I'm gonna provide that session.user.image, and I'm gonna say it will be available, and an auto tag it will be user image, and also as the width I need to provide 2, and the height I will give also 200. So as you see, if I did that one, I am just facing some of the implication, what actually saying invalid source prop. So I need to configure my source properties in my next over here within that file, which is the nextconfig.jstx or mjx, whatever you say it. So here I need to mention the images from where it gonna come. I'm gonna get an image properties here, and I'm gonna pass the remote patterns, which can going to be an array. So I'm gonna pass the protocol, which going to be an HTTPS protocol. Actually instead of, sorry, it's my bad, it will be an object. So the protocol which going to be HTTPS, and then I need to pass that host name. So the host name, that host name it's going to be this one. Okay, so now if I just paste it here and come back here and give a reload, the error should be disappear. So what I'm gonna do, as I'm gonna having two remote patterns, as I'm using actually two properties, one it will be coming up from the Google, another from the GitHub. So I'm gonna just paste that both of the properties, and just if you're getting a much more loading time, you can just come over here and just close your application and start again. Or nowadays it's actually starting by default, so you need to have some patience and it will just compile itself. Okay, as it compiled, so let's see what actually we are getting. We are having the user information and my image. So now we need to style that image. Let's go back to our profile. So in the profile, what we are going to do is that put some class name on here, class name which is going to be width of 10, height of 10, rounded full. Okay, I think that will be okay. So now below that I'm gonna just pop a div, so I will not waste much more time to explain that. So I'm gonna make this portion where actually I'm passing my user and username and my email, and then the email name which I'm getting from the backend. And also here I'm gonna actually not here in that stop of the div, with a class name flex item center gap in x, which going to be 3. I think yeah, there should be one div less. Yeah, it's my bad. As you see, that's the portion here. And for the sign out, let's go in the login. As you see, we are having a button here. I'm gonna just grab that button. in my profile, and I'm gonna paste it here. If I save, of course I need to make sign out. Right now it will not be for the sign in. As you see, it's not look so good. So what I'm gonna do, instead of login, I'm gonna make that sign out, and also I'm gonna just change some of the properties. Instead of that height, I'm gonna give a padding y of 4, and empty 20 is here. I'm gonna just provide empty 5, margin top of 5. Okay, if I click here, it will just get me sign out. As you see, it's signed out already. So now we finish our login instances. So now we need to connect our application through MongoDB, and to implement that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna use that adapters. As you see in that adapters, there is a several database adapters you can use. There's providing a bunch of things here, but we're gonna use that MongoDB adapter. So in that adapters, as you see, there is one MongoDB. Click on that MongoDB, and you're gonna have all the necessary things to just streamline with that. So what I'm gonna do, actually, how it's saying how we can interact the adapters. As you see in that Auth we can inject that one. Okay, we're gonna do it. And there is one more things which we need to follow, is that creating that lib.ts. So let's go in our route here. I'm gonna just close all the tabs, and I'm gonna go in my source folder, not the file. I'm gonna take one folder which is going to be not as the name of lib, and inside that lib is putting the db.ts. I'm gonna keep the same name, so it will be db.ts. And instead of getting everything from the scratch, I'm gonna just copy that. I'm gonna paste it here. So now, okay, let's see. Okay, so also we need to install some of the properties which we miss actually. So if we just go in the top, we need to install these two. One is that MongoDB adapter, and one is that particular MongoDB. So first thing first, let's just get in the terminal. I'm gonna install that, and after installing, as you see that MongoDB URI, you need to put in the environment.env file. So just feel free to get that your URL and keep it there, and then we need to amplify that. So this portion we have been done, as you see in our particular portion. Okay, now the error has been gone. Actually, how it's working is, you see, it's just looking for the process.env. If we have that MongoDB URI, if we don't have that particularly, is our URI is empty or we doesn't have that key, it will throw an error, that missing environment variable. You can put any of your parameter like your error, or you can just keep it at the same. Then what is actually doing, if we have that env, that MongoDB URI, it's gonna keep it within an variable that const URI process.env.mongodb URI. Then it's just injecting that options which is coming with the server API, and it's injecting that server API version which is imported from that MongoDB, and is coming with that version 1. Then it's strict and that's normal things. So it's creating now a client. So that client promise actually coming with that promise.mongo client. And as you see, a process.env is coming as with that double of pen. What actually is injecting is just returning, it's just passing with that, creating that instances by which it can write and get the access in your database to keep whatever the value is it's getting and injecting to in the particular reality. And now it's a simple way, we're just exporting default as that in the client promise. So we are having that client promise. Now we need to inject that client over here in our Auth. So how we can do that? As you see below that, we will make it as adapter, and inside that adapter we're gonna get that MongoDB adapter. Okay, within that MongoDB adapter we're gonna make that as client promise. So you see both options. So the client adapter we are getting from that Auth MongoDB adapter, and also for that client promise you're gonna leave and from the DB. And this promise it's gonna be named as adapter, of course, because we are injecting that one as an adapter, so we need to pass the variable as adapter. And also one more things you need to inject, which you are messing around because it's MongoDB, right? So in that Auth options we need to provide that classification on the types. So that Auth options you need to provide, otherwise it will just bumping up, it will not work for sure. So an auth options it's going to coming from that Nextauth. So everything is done. I think we are good to go. As you see, that's my cluster. If I go with my browse collections, of course we are not having anything right now. So this one, I'll just roll back here. I'm gonna hit a reload. Okay, as you see, my other properties is empty. So let's go in the login. If we click on the login and just want to go it with the sign in with GitHub, of course it can just having some delay or killing some times, because the first time it's going to read our database. If we hit refresh, just wait a bit, it will coming up. As you see, now we are having our accounts, and in the accounts we are having the credentials. In the sessions we have the session credentials. In the users we are having our particular user credential. So as you see, that's how beautiful that is. You can now having your own, like normally you can create a registered users, and also you can get your Auth users. You just need to inject in your users table. So that's it, or user model. You just create a model, put all the things here, assert it with that, and then you can inject. So I think that can be much more helpful, right? So feel free to like and share this video, and also please subscribe the channel to come up with some more videos so you can see and get benefited from it. So I think that can help you to understand how MongoDB is actually work with Nextauth. It's pretty simple and pretty cool. Okay, so keep continue building, and I'll see you in next video.